Hello everybody, it's Max with Crypto Talk now. When it comes to XRP, we're going to hit a market cap that we've never seen before in the likes of all crypto. It's going to surpass the likes of Bitcoin, and I realize that these are some pretty bold statements, and you may feel as though, wow, Max, you're just hopping on that train, huh? Well, listen to what I have to say, and if anything, you can draw your own conclusion based on the outline that I'm going to share with you guys. And before we get into it, on this particular statement, it's going to be based on a figure of about roughly $1.3 trillion based on only 1% of what XRP is going to harness. So again, real conservative numbers. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's XRP coverage. So as we can see right here, I will full screen this, and I will start it off with Coach JV, and of course we'll get more into this towards the end of this particular outline for this video. But check this out for yourself. Like he says, this will never happen again in our living history. Most will miss it. Again, a lot of people will miss it. You'll have, for instance, even people who will be watching this particular video who, you know, no offense to them, Bitcoin maxis. They don't see it happening ever. So I'm going to play this. This is about 3 minutes, but granted, listen to what he has to state in this. And he has his own particular outline towards the end, in which, if anything, will give you a bigger perspective on this particular roadmap of where we're going. Here we go.
Most people are going to miss the biggest shift in generational wealth in our living history. This will not happen again. Will not happen again in our life or our kids' life. This is a shift from industrial to technical, Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. Now listen, this is really important as everybody looks this way at the FTX collapse. All over the news, it's flooding people out of the word crypto. There's a big difference between crypto and blockchain, okay? Hear me out. What they're doing with FTX is they're making everybody think crypto in one category is a fraud. That if you get into crypto, you're going to lose all your money. But blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, on-demand liquidity, chat GPT, AI, gas, solar, wind are literally the future of our economy. Now, if you're watching this far, I'm going to share with you the new 1%. So the old paradigm, industrial, is gas, oil. The new 1% will be data, software, information, and attention. So let me show you what's happening. As you look this way at a problem, reaction, solution, here's what's happening behind the scenes. Now again, this stuff is not sexy or exciting, but I'm going to show you what the central banks are doing, and I'm going to show you what I believe is going to happen and how they're going to bridge all this. So as FTX goes down, you need to pay attention to Project Enbridge, connecting economies through central bank digital currencies. Here's the roadmap. They've been working on it since 2017. I thought blockchain technology and distributed ledger technology and on-demand liquidity was a fraud because they say crypto's a fraud, but that's crypto. So 2017, it comes all the way to 2022. Ironically, we're having some of the biggest distractions, Celsius, stablecoin collapse, FTX collapse, as they're switching your monetary system to a blockchain technology. Now people panic because like, oh, what about Ripple and things like that? Guys, look at, there's about 53 central banks underneath the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. I shared with you, you need to follow them, World Economic Forum, World Bank, and IMF. Let me give you a perspective. This is how many central banks there actually are. Look at this. All these central banks will have CBDCs, and they need a bridge of liquidity for all these central bank digital currencies. It's not by chance that they threw out a case against Ripple, the most well-run cryptocurrency company that actually has the solve for CBDCs and the liquidity bridge right now to move velocity of money much faster. If you know the game, you can't be played. Warriors!
So I want to come back into the frame here for just a moment in regards to that, to basically just kind of discuss some of the things that he mentioned right here. before we get into our next part of our coverage, we'll cover, for instance, this whole thing that's happened recently with Gary Gensler and so on. But I don't think it's just a coincidence, having the likes of Gary Gensler of the SEC targeting specifically XRP, right, with Ripple and so on. They're a real threat, to say the least, when it comes to traditional finance. And if anything, I'm connecting the dots, to say the least. I thought Coach JV did a very good job of outlining what you saw basically right there. Look more deeper into, for instance, the World Economic Forum, what's going on with IMF and so on, like that particular outline towards the end. It all simply makes sense. And then again, the list of all those particular central banks. If you have something like the likes of Ripple's XRP that's going to be moving, these bank-to-bank payments and utilizing, over 50, if not over 100, I don't even actually have the exact figure anymore. I used to. Plus banks, what is the true value in regards to that? Now, when we get to the end of the video, you will also see a particular outline that I'm doing that lowballs it at 1%. And again, if that doesn't give you more perspective, then I don't know what will. So I want to go ahead and basically full screen this again, because we're going to get into the next part of our particular coverage with our outline that we have for you. And there's this. So this was on, for instance, Fox News. It says, for instance, breaking news. Hey, Gary Gensler, my only question is when transparency? Asking for a friend. I'm in disbelief that she just said this on the news. It's about time we get the ball rolling here, folks. It's getting a little heated up. And, before you had Gensler, be interviewed on CNBC, some of these other news outlets and so on. And now, if anything, I'm thinking that, some of these big news outlets are recognizing that Gensler might have had, for instance, a play into all this. This is only 18 seconds, but look at this. Here we go.
The Securities and Exchange Commission chairman, Gary Gensler, hid public information, apparently, about private meetings he had with Hillary Clinton, billionaire George Soros, even Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. He's actually editing out these meetings from the public record. The Securities and...
Yeah. Why would he want to do that? Now, again, I understand some people who are going to defend Gensler are going to say, well, let's fact check that, blah, blah, blah. But, go look more into it yourself. He did have plenty of backdoor meetings, specifically with Sam Bankman-Fried and so on. Why was that? If you're going to target XRP, then, because you have basically the investor's best interest at heart, come on. Do you really have investors' best interests at heart with the whole entire disaster FTX? Give me a break. All right. On top of that, look at this. So a little bit more in regards to, the relevancy of Ripple XRP, right? So it says the Cayman Islands thinks Ripple is a relevant payment type. Me too. Now, some people may have the attitude, well, Max, come on, man. The Cayman Islands, I mean, usually that's where criminals want to move their money and so on. Okay, granted, but at least for the purposes of this video, it is a country, and they do recognize the relevant payment system, the payment type of Ripple's XRP. So I'm gonna blow this up, and if anything, look at this, cash flow returns, complete guide to banking. But let me flip it back actually. See, Cayman Islands top left, monetary authority, again, the whole new monetary system. So when you go into it, for instance, on the very bottom, relevant payment types, right? You have SWIFT, FedWire, BACS, CHAPS, CIPS, Faster Payments, GPS, OPICS, PEGA, and Ripple. It says specifically, these options refer to common payment and settlement systems for relevant payments through a domestic payment system or an intermediary bank. Again, think about the on-demand liquidity that Ripple provides, It's just that. It makes sense to me. Now, when I go a little bit more further into it, you see this other page. Total number of incoming transactions broken down by payments. Enter the total number of relevant payments, received during the reporting period, broken down by the listed payment systems. And again, it mentions relevant payment systems. All of those ones mentioned, once again, and of course, Ripple. Why put Ripple? Because it is a relevant payment system. All right, a little bit more in regards to this. Look at this for yourself. It says, remember this? Bank of China, stablecoin, Ripple, a commercial bank. If you haven't seen the video that we did, check out the one in the videos section of Crypto Talk Now. It has basically my face on it and so on, but it shows specifically XRP as a bank. Now look at this, Bank of China, XRP, the connection. I'm not going to read all this, but, I'll just get right to the gist. That's why it's highlighted. So if anything, it says traditional payment, established powerhouse Swift, for instance, new competitors such as Ripple. Ripple needs to cooperate with Swift. Ripple needs to find the right position and form a differentiated advantage. Cross-border payment. Ripple and Swift promote each other and develop together, which they have. Heck, we even outline, for instance, the Swift connection to what? Quant. Might as well throw that in there as well. On top of that, on the bottom, Swift, constrained by its traditional system, structure, Swift remittances lack timelessness, cross-border payment information, chain is long, easy to cause information loss. The emergence of Ripple's triggered the quote-unquote catfish effect, which caused a ripple in the field of cross-border payments. Swift accelerates the pace of innovation and change by doing just what? Realizing that they need to get with the picture with ISO 222. Hence, they launched new products, such as Swift GPI/GO. Look more into it if you want, and will promote just that, the ISO 222 message format by the end of 2022, which we're basically in. And of course, that got delayed into the March mandate, which is roughly March 20th to be exact. Now, a little bit more. So you see other key highlights. So for instance, Western countries have taken SWIFT as an important tool to implement financial sanctions, and the future cross-border payment system says neutrality can be maintained. The key trade-offs: Ripple as Native American fintech company is inevitably subject to the influence of U.S. regulations. Let's face it. Or U.S. regulators. As a commercial bank, it should be carefully considered in the absence of effective means to avoid the risk of swift sanctions, whether using Ripple will step into another, quote, American trap. On top of that, the Ripple coin threatens financial security and social stability. To maintain the stability of Ripple, a stable exchange rate is formed by anchoring various legal currencies in reality, such as, for instance, the US dollar, a basket of currencies, or a combination of just that, commodities. The currency has a stable support, preferably at the 1:1 ratio in that particular reserve, and the safety and liquidity of the reserve must be guaranteed. Again, guaranteed. How is it going to be guaranteed? It's going to be guaranteed because it's backed by what? The likes of gold, right? Again, think about this. I mentioned it quite a few times now, actually. For all those people who used to say that the likes of Bitcoin or crypto in general is a hedge against inflation, it is not. It's a hedge against money printing. And from this perspective of how the money printing problem has existed literally since 1971, when we've gotten off of the gold standard, and where we're at now, the United States, currently speaking, is at $31 trillion debt. And last I heard, I think there was a recent article to say it's even gone up another 9 trillion, maybe even 10 trillion since then. But if anything, at least 31 trillion. Why is that? Because it's a money printing machine. The US dollar, the government keeps printing the money. It's not backed by anything, so you're going to see a dollar collapse. So if anything, we're also seeing, kind of like back to what Coach JV was referring to, where you have the World Economic Forum getting involved, the likes of some of these other organizations and so on, planning out the new monetary system. And that new monetary system has to be backed by something. What? Gold, XLM, silver. You get the gist. All right, going a little bit more further. Speaking of the Bank of China, look at this. July 25th, 2022 issue. U.S. fintech company Ripple is making cross-border payments. Specifically speaking, on the bottom, fintech companies have emerged as a strong emerging force. Ripple as one of the leaders. The core business is to use the Ripple network to process cross-border payment and remittance. And that's Bank of China. That's just scratching the surface. Top of that, there's this. Something is still missing, but they will not say it out loud. Look at this statement. Even though Banque de France and HSBC run separate DLT infrastructures, they can be connected via bridging software that enables interoperable transactions and cross-network DLT consistency. They can be connected. What are they going to be connected with? Ripple's on-demand liquidity through, for instance, like some of the things you mentioned or see here, distributed ledgers based on Hyperledger Fabric and R3 Corda. We're also integrated using the Weaver interoperability tool. And again, we already know how powerful R3 Corda is, especially that bridge with XDC. On top of that, let's get more further into this. So it wouldn't be a proper XRP video from Crypto Talk Now if we didn't include the likes of Crypto Lulu, right? So shout out to Crypto Lulu as usual. Here's why your spouse is very excited about XRP. This is about 1 minute and 18 seconds. And, you know, you may be thinking, well, how does this have to do with this crazy price prediction? Well, we'll get to that. But if anything, it's all about perspective and it's all about knowledge. 1 minute and 18 seconds, and then we'll come back.
Here's why your spouse is very excited about this whole thing. So far, in all of blockchain and all of cryptocurrency, we have not yet seen a single digital asset that has had real world global utility. It's all been based on speculation, aka me believing that this company might be bigger in the future. That's speculation. What your spouse or your partner, or your girlfriend or boyfriend has discovered is a digital asset called XRP. There's likely a few other ones in here that are related, but XRP is the one that's driving most of this excitement. Now, what XRP does is XRP is the tradable token under a company called Ripple. And Ripple's whole idea, the whole purpose is to rejuvenate and rejig and reset this whole financial system of all of the inefficiencies that it had. So what Ripple aims to do is resolve payments instantly, utilizing something called RTGS. RTGS is real-time gross settlement. That means whenever I pay someone, the end result is that they receive the money completely settled. None of this 3 to 4 days of waiting, or I owe you this, or you owe me this. None of that. Just settles immediately to the bank of the receiver.
Think about that. Settles immediately. We pointed out many times, and you guys haven't even heard it, especially if you're new to the likes of these videos and so on. Time is money. And with that said, how much is that money going to be worth if you're providing a utility that basically solves it at scale that nobody has ever seen before? Think about it. That on-demand liquidity, how much is it really truly worth? All right, a little bit more in regards to this. So I saw this and I said to myself, this is a nice way to get towards the point or where we're wrapping this up. So it says, in the aftermath of a FUD-filled weekend and a Fed-inspired sell-off, whales and the rest of the market have reacted. And a shout out to Larry, the host of Crypto Talk Now. I am technically the co-host. We're partners and so on with this particular network of Crypto Talk Now. He made a short video referring to how Bitcoin whales are basically selling off their Bitcoin in record numbers, right? Crazy. Why would they be doing that? Well, if anything, it's because they're probably recognizing that a huge crash is going to happen. But when you hear about that and you compare it to the likes of what Ripple is doing with XRP, again, you got to connect the dots. So it says we explore this on today's Rebel Research, and of course you can click on that particular link, but I'll go ahead and click on this. I want to show this to you guys. So it says Bitcoin. Whales have been selling, just like what Larry mentioned, more Bitcoin than ever in a single 30-day period. And he points that out just real quick in that particular short. Go to the next page. Ethereum. At the time of writing, ETH boasted a trading volume of 3.9 billion in the last 24 hours. Top of that, there's this, the icing on the cake, if you will. XRP whales have moved more than 170 million XRP, which is about approximately 58 million. Why would whales be doing that? Why would Bitcoin whales be selling their Bitcoin? Again, action, reaction. All right, a little bit more in regards to this. So shout out to this particular individual, who is Merlin Crypto Invest at Merlin on a roll. He states with this particular statement, of course, taken from this video clip, we have 130 trillion of trapped capital waiting to be released. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you because if anything, it'll give you a broader perspective of what he's referring to in regards to the bank international settlements. Basically what you heard recently, a few clips ago from Crypto Lulu. Again, part of an outline. Our outline. All right, 48 seconds. We'll come back to reflect on just this.
And basically, the whole global total U.S. debt is $94 trillion, right? And what did Rishi say? What did Rishi say? The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. What did Rishi say? We have $130 trillion of trapped capital locked up, waiting to be released for a new green economy. And guess what can unlock that trapped capital? XRP, baby. On demand liquidity. Keywords, on demand, for situations just like this. Peace.
Yeah, for situations just like that. Now, I don't exactly agree with, for instance, what he said about, was it 91 trillion for a particular debt in the United States? I think those figures are way off, but it could be wrong. I'm based off the data that I have and so on. But whatever the case be, when we get to the end of this particular video, you'll still see the case that I'm going to be making. Now, he's referring, of course, to this 100, not him, but for instance, what he mentioned, I believe it was the Prime Minister mentioned in some of these particular figures, Prime Minister UK, that is. So 130 trillion of trapped capital waiting to be released. Just saying, like, in total, right? So on top of that, we don't have to narrow it specifically to, a wrong amount of debt of 91 trillion specifically for the United States. And if anything, you don't have to apply it to the 31 trillion that I mentioned that the United States is in debt, give or take, and so on. If anything, we're going to look at this particular figure of 130 trillion of trapped capital. That should be the emphasis. Why? Well, there's this. So I like this particular site. I've used it for years because if anything, it adds up everything without doing like the times E or whatever it is. Sometimes it's just better just to see all the numbers right on your screen. So I took that particular figure that he mentioned, 130 trillion, and I multiplied it by just 1%, right? So for instance, let's say for hypothetical reasons and so on, Ripple's XRP, the on-demand liquidity, right? We're able to take just 1% of that trapped capital of $130 trillion. That's all the same amount of money. The amount that we get here, basically, so I have 130 trillion at the top times 0.01, which basically represents 1%. And then from there, we have 3 zeros, 6 zeros, 9 zeros. Then this would be a billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, and then trillion. So basically that amount comes to $1.3 trillion, right? So think about that for a second. Ripple, XRP, if they are only able to, do just 1% based on that particular figure that we just saw, right? Where it's 130 trillion, right, of trapped capital waiting to be released. That's a crazy figure, right? And so when we get more into it, let's go basically to CMC. So on CMC, currently the global crypto market cap is at $800 billion. Bitcoin is sitting at 16,578 with a current market cap of $318,917,359,000, right? Now you may be wondering, well, Max, what was Bitcoin's all-time high? When was that? What was the amount? So Bitcoin's all-time high, right, happened to be on November 9th of 2021, and basically it reached 1.28 trillion, right? If anything, I think it was a little bit higher than that, because remember, I always mentioned 11/11/2021 is when this reached 69,000 per Bitcoin. But again, for the purposes of what they have with their data, 1.28 trillion. Again, think about this. I'll go back to it. So, you think about the overall crypto market cap, we saw roughly in the area of 3 to 4 trillion. If we have, for instance, that particular figure of 1.28 trillion for Bitcoin, and then you have the figure of what you see right here of 1.3 trillion for Ripple's XRP. And again, guys, that's just lowballing it at 1% of, this right here. I'll show you again. 1% of 130 trillion of trapped capital waiting to be released. I just lowballed it. Other people got higher than that. I'll show you an example of who's got higher than that. So this particular person, again, shout out to him. He says, for instance, this is just an example, as that all we have as reference until we see how it will flow and how much all value moves into digital by 2025. 2023 will be the year of rebirth into a new system, right? The new monetary system. Okay. So it says, in a world of those prepared will ride the wave of wealth transfer that, of course, will occur. Again, back to what Coach JV was saying at the very beginning. Most people won't understand or will miss out on this particular largest wealth transfer in the history of mankind. So, for this particular example, I gave you one, right? Here's his particular example. So he states if a coin / value is, for instance, 2,710 for the example of XRP, and its circulating supply is, for instance, 48 billion, right? Because remember, 9 zeros and of course a 1 in front of it would represent 1 billion. So 48 billion. Then his market cap is 130 trillion. Right? Basically right around the figures of what Bitcoin was before. And again, guys, this is right close to what I was basically stating with my particular math and so on. So it's not like I'm too far off from what they were mentioning. And again, at 1% of 130 trillion trapped in capital waiting to be released. Can you imagine if we do figures a lot higher than that? And I think, if anything, this is where the debate comes from, of XRP, for instance, hitting $10,000 or higher, right? People do realize that. But of course, Bitcoin maxis are going to say that we're absolutely nuts. But I will leave you with this. I'm going to come back into the frame. And that is, think about it for a moment. All right. There's a lot of people back in the days who didn't even think or fathom that, for instance, Bitcoin, I will use this particular example, could get to these crazy price levels from $100 or even below that, right? Back in 2010, I think it was $5 Bitcoin, and we went from there to the big leap of 100 to 1,000. Was it back in 2017, 2018? Don't quote me. Roughly 10,000 in that particular jump to get to 69K on 11/11/2021. Now, while that seems just unbelievable, and some people even have Bitcoin going higher than that, think about this. We are currently in a bear market, and there's of course enough evidence to show that with these 4-year cycles. By the way, highly recommend looking at that particular Bitcoin video that I did a while back. All right, you can look into it in the video section. But again, these 4-year cycles, the evidence shows that we're going to be going into another bull market starting sometime in 2023. Now, I want to state this. With all of that said, what is going to trigger the bull market is a utility run, right? A utility run market will trigger that bull market. Where does it start? Well, in my humble opinion, it starts with the likes of XRP and XLM, and especially Quant. If you don't believe me, check out the Quant video I recently did too, especially if you're a person that's into Quant, and even if you're a person who wants to learn more about Quant, again, look into that particular video. But again, guys, those are the 3 main ones for me that starts this utility run. And if anything after that, you will see the ones that are also tied into ISO 222 takeoff as well. ALBT, Casper. I know we haven't done a video on Casper yet. Be on the look out for that. HBAR, a lot of these ones, Algo, again, they're tied into ISO 222. That simply makes sense. So let me know what you think. Am I lowballing it too much at 1%? Or is that being, let's face it, conservative and realistic enough on which I'm not looking like a complete nut job? So with that said, everybody, I want to hear your particular calculations. And let's face it, We can agree to disagree. Don't attack, for instance, the messenger, attack the argument. So thanks for watching today's XRP coverage. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again for watching. May you all have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next one.